American voters feeling some serious buyer's remorse with President Biden. Things not looking up for the commander-in-chief exactly 1 year out from the midterms as Americans deal with soaring inflation and empty store shelves. Nearly 60% say they disapprove of Joe Biden's job performance. Only 38% approve. And roughly half of independents think the president has done a worse job than they even expected. Adding to the president's headache, the rising price of gas. Biden is considering shutting down another oil pipeline despite runaway prices, and his energy secretary claims there's not much the White House can do to ease pain at the pump.
Could the average gas price in America be $4 a gallon in the United States soon?
Well, we certainly hope not. The president is all over this. Of course, every president is frustrated because they can't control the price of gasoline because it's a global market.
The president blaming the press while suggesting most people don't understand the supply crisis.
What I'm going to try to do is explain to the American people as best I can. And by the way, you all write for a living. I haven't seen any one of you explain supply chain very well. No, I'm not being critical. I'm being deadly earnest. When your editor says, explain the supply chain, okay? Lots of luck in your senior years, my coach used to say.
Jesse, whenever the politicians start talking about a communications problem instead of the fact problem, I get a little suspicious.
Yeah, Biden shouldn't be mocking Americans for not understanding current events, Dana. That's my job. But this is the reason we have this supply chain crisis. And if you don't know, now you do. Biden and his buddies a couple of years back put all the American factories in China, in Asia. And now we have a problem with the shipping. If they stayed here in the Western Hemisphere, we wouldn't have had this type of problem. And he doesn't understand supply and demand. They're just trying to kill this Line 5 pipeline in Canada. Say you kill it tomorrow, right? We don't go green tomorrow. You're still going to have to truck and train all the gas to the United States. That's going to raise costs, and it's going to increase emissions. And this poll is a catastrophe for Democrats. He's at 38% approval. On the economy, he's in the low 30s. In COVID, he's underwater. In immigration, Dana, he's in the teens. He's in the 20s in, I think, foreign policy. And then most of Democrats, a lot of them, big chunk, and a lot of independents don't even want him to run. And they think he's an incompetent failure. And then so you turn your attention to number 2, Kamala Harris. She's in the 20s, Dana. It is the worst number of a sitting vice president in modern American history. It's bad. So that's why a lot of Democratic donors are now looking to bypass Kamala, shift the money to Mayor Pete, so he gets the nomination in 2024. That sets up a huge cage match between Kamala, Mayor Pete, Bernie for the heart and soul of the Democratic Party. And as you like to say, I'm here for it.
I'm here for all of it.
Imagine, Dana, if he didn't have a corrupt press propping this guy up, he'd be at 28%. Look at the last week. He goes and falls asleep overseas, and then he passes wind so blatantly that the House of Windsor is still talking about it.
Windsor.
He's breaking Windsor. And then he comes back and he raids the home of a conservative journalist over his daughter's missing diary. And then we find out, it turns out, not only did the Democratic Party fund the dossier, the Democrats put the lies in the dossier. And he plans on paying certain illegals millions of dollars. Imagine if they covered this president like they covered the last president. Yeah. This would have been reverberating everywhere.
I always like to talk to you on Mondays because it's got a lot of pent-up energy.
It's been a long weekend.
I loved it. What about that? Poll numbers. Poll numbers are bad.
Oh, you mean you don't want to focus on
I was going to move past that.
You're going to pass it?
Yep.
You're going to pass the gas?
Yep. I was just amazed pass right over that.
I was just amazed that they were impressed by the length of it rather than the sound. But anyway, it should be easy for Joe to work from home, right? Because it is the White House.
The home.
That's his home.
That's where you
All you got to do is roll out of bed and take the stair lift, and you're there. But it's like he doesn't know what's going on, whether it is the $450,000 payout or it's supply chain. It's like he's kept in the dark like a rare organic mushroom, and then he's kind of like wheeled out like a doddering old consultant for a few hours, and then he floats around, checks his watch until it's his nap. But that's factored into the presidency. They know what they're getting, and they're allowing other people to run the show. It's just that we don't know who it is. It's not like we have an absentee father, but our absentee father is replaced by the Manson family, Dana. It's Hyperbole Monday.
Hyperbole.
But it is true. Biden, it's naturally to see a decline in polls because every president has a honeymoon.
Yeah.
And there's only so much you can say about the person's dog, right?
Right.
But Trump never had a honeymoon.
Or a dog.
No, that's true, and I love that. He had the opposite of a honeymoon, which is what you call marriage.
No.
No.
You had a good weekend, I see.
Yes, I see. Harold, I have a theory, but I want to ask about the infrastructure bill. The president did get a legislative win. It happened on Friday night. And I think that one of the things is if you look at that bill, they had the votes for all of that in April, but they decided to wait. And so what happened since then? You had the supply chain crisis, inflation, you have Afghanistan, amongst other things that are going on, immigration. And so the infrastructure bill passes, and it's sort of like not even a blip. But could it help the president sort of regain some footing?
You're the only one here that's been in the White House and worked closely with the president. I think it can.
Jesse? Visited Trump on a number of occasions.
This is true. It
Got
got a lot of swag.
I did.
If we are sitting here, if I'm invited back to sit in February or March, and he is with these numbers, we have a real problem. You got primaries already taking place in the country. So I think there's a way for this to turn around. There's no doubt they should have done this back in May, June, July, August, September, when they could have potentially influenced the outcome of some of these elections. The other thing is Democrats have got to push the reset button themselves and realize voters vote in federal elections, but they live local lives. Crime, public education, jobs, costs of living. You have to confront and meet people where they are in their lives. There's nothing wrong with talking about the national issues. 2, Democrats and Republicans, Trump is no longer the factor in the midterms if you want to win. Youngkin has given Republicans a path, have given Republicans a playbook. And Democrats who think all you need to do is raise Donald Trump's name and you're going to fire at people, it's not the case. You saw an African-American woman and an Hispanic man also elected in the Commonwealth of Virginia, the Lieutenant Governor and the Attorney General. Racializing everything so quickly, not the right thing. You got to meet people where they are again and talk about the things that matter to them and that they care about. And a funny thing happens. Black people, white people, brown people, other colored people, we all want the same thing. We don't want to pay more for bread. Jesse doesn't want to pay more for gas. Greg doesn't want to pay more for anything. And nor do any of my African-American or white friends want that. Meet people where they are, have an agenda, and bring people together. If you do that, you can turn it around. If you don't, if we continue playing this kind of politics, we're going to find ourselves listening to results. And perhaps the worst thing is that immigration thing. The president needs to explain this. Now, there has to be a standard. If you go and apply for a government service, right, and you follow the rules and the government manages the outcome of it, and all of a sudden they lose your child during the process, there has to be a standard of care there, and there probably is a remedy for that. I'm certain it's not $450,000, but they've got to figure out how to explain this and then explain to American people what the remedy is.
But the thing that's so frustrating, that story sat out there for 3 or 4 days before they ever even asked about it, and then they're like insulting Americans for being concerned about the issue.
I think that they need to be doing a lot less explaining, like their professors talking to people who are paying way too much tuition in a college course. The strategy from the White House so far with every single crisis has been to ignore it, to act like it's not happening, to tell everybody it's not happening. Americans aren't stranded in Afghanistan. There's nothing we can do about oil and gas prices, where people know that they can do something about oil and gas prices because we've done it before. We were producing our own oil. We became independently strategic and also dependent on ourselves for energy in this country, not reliant on OPEC. Now the Biden administration is going back and begging OPEC to pump more oil so that we can have cheaper prices, when we could solve that problem tomorrow by approving drilling leases, by not trying to shut down more pipelines. And the other thing is, they're acting like they don't care. And maybe they don't. Maybe they know that Joe Biden himself has said he might not run in 2024. They know that the vice president has been a total disaster. She got her trial run and it's been a complete failure. And maybe their strategy is they know they're going to lose 2022. So they're going to push through as much as they can now and then try to clean it up later with someone else. But that seems to be the issue. And then for Biden, lastly, to say the press needs to explain the supply chain better. Okay, people can go to the grocery store. They can go to their local store. They can see there's a problem. They can see the photos of all the shipping containers off the ports. They don't need to be explained to or to read in the newspaper what's going on when they can feel it every single day with their paycheck.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.